The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community that sees all things new. My name is Jennifer Nuya, live streaming from Cavite, Philippines. You're watching Stories from the Fringe, Season 2, Episode 19. Please let me know that you can hear me well by typing into the comment section where you are joining us from today. You can also use the same comment section to drop in your comments, ask your questions, or just anything that you would like to share with us today. We will also be dropping in links later that you can copy for later use or click on. For those who are tuning for the first time, Stories from the Fringe aims to push for more diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in all aspects of our lives. We are committed to creating a world where individual differences like ability, gender, race, class, among others, are not only seen and understood, but also celebrated and empowered. We believe that we can all be a part of this collective vision. In order to make the most of our time together, we encourage you to turn off all distractions and prepare to take notes, mental or written, and be just fully engaged with our guest for today. Melissa Subban. Melissa Subban is a people strategist and CEO of Happy Factory. She helps leaders create happy human experiences across a business value cycle. And get this, she gets to tap her inner fairy for a living. Wow, that's lovely. And she helps create and implement personalized training programs, people strategies, customer journeys, and communication strategies that help create happy workforces. She also enjoys painting, yoga, and other mind, body, spirit practices. Melissa and I worked together last year on a 5-day sprint sponsored by Women for Impact, an organization by Women for Women, which aims to unlock the full potential of women for a better world. But of course, that's another story for another day. Let me please help me welcome Melissa Subban.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Melissa. How have you been since the last time we chatted?
I have been great, thank you. Yes, South Africa is always awesome and still sunny, although we're slightly cold.
Wonderful, wonderful. Can you please give our viewers a brief background about you and the work that you do in Happy Factory?
Sure, thanks, Jennifer. So I've spent 15 years in I call it the human experience game, even though it is the corporate world,
Mhm.
and works for a long time thinking about people and how we engage with each other, whether it
Mhm.
is employees with customers or whether
Mhm.
it is employees themselves, between each other, and employer-employee relationships. And my core belief system is that happy people are more productive people. We all know that people are
Mm-hmm.
a lot happier when they are doing what they love doing, and when they enjoy doing it, they do it well. So that's how Happy Factory was born. I then started the company and then realized that I love solving people problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think that I am part of the evolution, but an evolution can't be done, alone. You've got to have multiple people. So I like to call it the weevolution. And yeah, a little bit about me. Recently, I've spent a year Airbnb-ing around South Africa to experience the diversity and culture, and just understand that, what makes us different, and what makes us the same. So I'm a people strategist by nature, also a change manager, and I promise people that I can help them dig deep into their souls.
Lovely, lovely. Now, my question is to start, how do we define human? How is it to be a human?
So I think if you look at a cup, my mug, and you think to yourself, well, what makes this a mug? Is it the fact that it has a use? Is it the fact that it is made of certain material? Or is it the fact that I drink my coffee out of it and it caffeinates me? And
Mm-hmm.
when you look at human beings, we realize that there's something that is within us that has been the same and has been there from the time that think of the 7-year-old child. What is the same? Our cells change every 7 years, but
Mm-hmm.
there's something that still stays within us. And if you look
Mm-hmm.
for that thing that stays within us, that stays
Mm-hmm.
constant throughout our lives, that is the thing that makes you, you. I think that consciousness separates us from, other entities, in the way in which we use that consciousness
Mm-hmm.
to evolve the
Mm-hmm.
people around us, to
Mm-hmm.
move humanity forward, to move the people that are similar to us. And when we look at what makes us the same, it is actually that we all want to understand the meaning of life. We all want to find meaning and make meaning in whatever it is that we do,
Mm-hmm.
think, feel, say. And we
Mm-hmm.
want to engage with people. So no one wants to be alone. We've realized that during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
that everybody wants to have contact, comfort. Everybody values the engagements that they have with other humans. And when you look at those core fundamentals, you then realize that, well, hang on, this is actually what we should be focusing on, instead of looking at what makes us so different, and instead of picking out on those differences. So I always say, if you care about the outside world, you must first look inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from within to without.
Oh, yes, I love that saying. That saying goes back to ancient times, and my interpretation is that our inner thoughts and feelings actually
Mm-hmm.
create what we see and what we experience. And when you look at it from a personal experience, and from a like gender bias, I worked
Mm-hmm.
in teams where there were many men, and I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I could pick out on all the issues and all the problems, or I could set the stage for how I wanted people to engage with me. And I think it is, that's the other thing. How do you make sure that you are inclusive without losing your own identity?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it starts off from within, with understanding yourself, accepting yourself. And when you can accept yourself, you'll find it's a lot easier to then accept other people. But most people want everybody else to be like them, right? Uh, if you ever were in a relationship, you realize, you think you want the other person to change to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask yourself, like, why? It is a personal responsibility. And are you happy
Okay.
with yourself?
So we're just experiencing slight technical glitch. Uh, okay. So Mel, you were saying about earlier that some people expect other people to be like them, think like them, probably speak and act like them, right?
Yes. So, if you think about a relationship, if you're ever in and it could be any relationship, we assume that we would be happier in that relationship if the other person was like you. And when we look at recruitment, actually in the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
you have to ask yourself, and it's something that I always ask people: are you
Mm-hmm.
hiring someone to be like you or to fill the gaps for your
Mm-hmm.
differences, for the
Mm-hmm.
things that you need to have in your company? And it's the same for our family lives. If you start there, what is within our spaces? Do we disagree with people and get cross with them and get upset because they are not like us? Or do we, or do we value those things? And before we look in the outside world, we must look at our own personal relationships, and actually even ourselves. Do we get cross with ourselves? A lot of people have self hate because they
Mm-hmm.
can't be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I argue, well, what if how you are is how you are meant to be always? And if you accepted that part of yourself, even if you're an angry individual, or, I sometimes I call myself, a person with multiple personalities and alter egos. And sometimes I could be, Khaleesi, mother of dragons. And other times I could be the fairy, the office fairy. And I think it just depends on the context of the situation, where I need to be a project manager and, get everybody in line, or make sure that I'm holding people accountable to what they said they were going to do, or that I'm easy and fun and helping people just, enjoy their work, being a promoter of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, I think it just depends. Self-acceptance
Mm-hmm.
is extremely important. My journey started off with wanting to change the world. And the more I tried to change others, the more resistance I encountered. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had to take this, stop and take stock and really consider, what was my intolerance of others' intolerances,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and why was that a problem?
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
That's very interesting that you pointed out. When you mentioned multiple personalities, I'm reminded of Carl Jung's archetypes. So, in a person, you are not static personality, you have dynamism. And based on the context, as you mentioned, you can be a project manager. And if you have a family, you can be the soccer mom, right? You can be the daughter. You have different roles. Now, you mentioned also about intolerance. Based on that, school of thought, Carl Jung said that if there is something that we don't like about another person, usually it's the unhealed part of ourselves, or this is the part of ourselves that we don't want to recognize. That's why it irritates us, because we don't want to work on it. So sometimes when I am it's not always that I have good conversations with other people, right? And sometimes I'm triggered by what someone has said or done. And that knowledge, that TNC is a live stream platform of online shows for people on the go. Please watch all our shows as seen on the screen. Imagine having your own show, your own playlist, your own content, but we make it easier for you. TNC aims to transform the lives of our viewers through engaging, authentic, and original content. Our vision is to become a global 24/7 live stream channel that showcases Filipino talent, global influencers, cultural intelligence, and ingenuity. Of course, I highly encourage you to continue watching Stories from the Fringe every Thursdays, 10:30 a.m. Philippine Standard Time. You can watch live or on replay via Facebook or YouTube. Follow us on IG. Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search hashtag TNC Now. Follow us on IG. Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search hashtag TNC Now. For sponsorships, please email now at thenewchannel.com or send us a DM. Enjoy these life-changing shows because we made them just for you. Before we went on a short break, Melissa and I, we were discussing about how it is to be human and how we can increase our tolerance towards those people who we feel are different to us. How we can continue to be inclusive, but at the same time have or conserve, maintain our self-identity. So let's ask Melissa to join us again. Hi, Melissa.
My take on when we think of intolerance, we think of something that we don't like. And it invokes emotions in us. That's why we don't like it. And intolerance is the action. The feeling of it is something within us that is almost negative towards, and maybe it could be an opinion that what the other person is doing is not right. And it makes us feel angry. It makes us feel upset. And that's what brings about the action of intolerance. So I think it starts off with an emotion that we attach and meaning that we attach to that particular thing that we are intolerant about. And when we go back to thinking about those emotions, when we think of war, I always say, war doesn't cure war. Hate doesn't dispel hate. And anger doesn't dispel anger. Because if you're angry and you are fighting with another person and they are angry back at you, think of a screaming teenager that people have to deal with, or you were once a teenager and were angry at the world at some point. Hopefully not all of us, but it stands to reason that if there's two angry people that are shouting at each other, it almost creates a blocker because you aren't able to see and engage on that actual topic. So it's a barrier to communication. And I think when we look at intolerance, we have to, again, start from within. And when you can see, if you're self-aware that actually this person, or I'm being intolerant, or the other person that's in front of me is actually being intolerant, it starts off with just being self-aware, with understanding what is happening in that moment. It's an observation. And when you're self-aware enough to look at that and observe the situation from the outside, you then understand that you have a choice. You have a choice as to whether you would like to participate in the emotion. And you have a choice as to what kind of emotion you are feeling at that point in time. And I think that when humanity can get to a point of forgiveness and love and understanding, then we actually can dispel hate, anger, and war.
Yeah, that's a beautiful vision of the world, and that is also the same vision that we have here for Stories from the Fringe. When we give love, forgiveness, all these positive thoughts towards each other a chance. So that's one way that we can be connected with other people. And if we are working in an organization, how we can stay connected with our team members. Can you cite other ways that we can also bridge that gap and stay connected with our team members?
I think for me, it is understanding, and it is identifying the thing that makes everybody special. So when and a great activity would be to write down all your team members' names onto a piece of paper. And
Mm-hmm.
then next to each one of their names, if you write down one unique quality or characteristic that you appreciate, that you're grateful for in that person,
Mm-hmm.
it creates neural pathways and links in your brain to say every time I look at that person, I now understand what makes them unique or what I like about them, and focusing on the positives. And when you start focusing on the positives, it's almost like you extend love, you extend good energy towards the other person,
Mm-hmm.
and it sets the stage for communication, because a lot of our communication is done via intention. A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time we say within the first 30 seconds we've already communicated whether the emotions that we're feeling via
Mm-hmm.
nonverbal communication, body language, whatever it is that your vibe that you give off to people. And I think that people understand that. So one of the ways to be connected to your team members is to identify what makes them unique and what makes them special, and
Mm-hmm.
what you're grateful for in them. It's when you see the specialness in their souls, then that's the point at which you start engaging with them from. And that is true connection.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's a beautiful trick that you put out there. That is being grateful for the specialness of each and every one. Because I believe that if you're grateful, you have no time to pick on the negatives, right? Because you're just grateful. Your joy is overflowing, so you have no time to complain why the report is not being submitted on time. And also one thing you can relate. So one thing that you also touched on is the subject of communication. One recent research that I have come across is the different types of communication, and it opened my eyes to a different perspective. Just for the appreciation of our viewers, we have different types of communication. So we have the analytical communicator. And it's interesting because I found out through taking a test that I'm an analytical communicator. Analytical communicators are people who like to discuss hard data and facts. Now we also have the personal communicators. They are more of emotional and free form. Most of the people in HR, sales and marketing, are personal communicators. They want to talk about feelings and they seem to be chatty. And being an analytical communicator myself, I had challenges in the past to understand why is this meeting taking so long. We have like a meeting an agenda set for 4 hours, but the first 30 hours is spent on just doing the small talk, like how have you been, how is your daughter, so things like that. And then we also have, if I'm not mistaken, the personal, analytical, and then we also have the intuitive. So these are the people who don't like the nitty gritty of the details. So if you give them something, they want to skip from A to Z, and that's the antithesis of functional. Because when you now talk to functional people, they say process, 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 and they stress out those people who are intuitive. But the beauty of being a functional communicator is they don't want to miss out on anything, because it might be something important, and missing that important detail might derail the whole process. So once I have realized this is my communication style, and these are the communication styles of those people around me, it makes easier for me to now, as you mentioned, adjust my communication style, because I have more self-awareness. And I believe that that is the challenge for those people who want to influence other people. We cannot expect other people to speak like us, to communicate the way that we communicate. And if they appear to be aggressive, they're not being aggressive. I wasn't being aggressive. I wasn't being unemotional. I'm not robotic, but it's just the way I communicate. So I'm sorry for those people I may have, whose toes I may have stepped on in the past. I didn't know any better, but now I know better.
Well, they say it's actually our biggest job in life, and it's an actually becomes an art form to help the people around us understand who we are. But
Mhm.
we must understand who we are first. So now that you know who you are, you've managed to actually apologize. This is a great case in point. And explain to people,
Mhm.
I when I was in a bad mood and I worked with very many people, I would literally in my team just say to them things like, "Oh, dragon's out today," and I was talking about myself, but people then understood that I needed to get some space.
Mhm.
Don't give me some time in which to
Mhm.
acclimate to the environment, or I'm taking a moment, I'm taking a moment
Mhm.
for myself. So I think it's important for us to understand who we are, how we engage with each other, and to also, just on that point of communication, I think that to set an intention, you
Mhm.
know, in today's world, people think intention setting is, woo woo and all of these things. But practically, if you set an intention for every communication that you are engaging in or going into, any meeting that you go into, if you set an intention, it's almost like setting a goal. But if you make that promise, that inner promise with yourself, then you
Mhm.
kind of start engaging with people differently, because you
Mhm.
understand what you
Mhm.
wanting to communicate. And if you've set it in a good space, then at the start of the meeting, you've already engaged non-verbally
Mhm.
what your intention and what your outcome is from that session.
Mhm.
So they say any truth can be said if it's said with kindness.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah. So this intentionality, this is not limited within the organization, within your team. So how can we also place this intentionality when we create our customer journeys?
So that's an interesting one, and quite an awesome one when it comes to human experience, and that's what I call it. I would encourage people to actually play out their entire customer journey and put in all of the customer touch points, and then look at the emotion that is being experienced in each of those areas. What is currently happening? And then to almost immerse yourself in the customer's shoes, and then say,
Mhm.
what is the customer experiencing at each one of these points? And then, as a company, what do we want people to experience? What is our
Mhm.
intention for that particular customer experience? And it's not always, all bubbles. They off topic. Do you know that there's no angry way to say the word bubbles?
Mhm.
All give it a try. There's no angry way. So it's not all bubbles and butterflies. Sometimes you may want people to be, serious, and you want customers to have specific emotions. But when you understand what that intention is, then you are able to help your employees display the right kind of behaviors in those customer engagements and customer interactions to get to the experience. I think that intention setting is extremely important in all aspects. When you think about business partners as well, if you've got contractors or business partners, freelancers that you engage with in your company, it's really important for you to also set intentions for the engagements for them if they are engaging with customers. We sometimes forget about that. How are our business partners engaging with us, and how are our business partners engaging with each other? Because I think that's also part and parcel of the entire complex environment, and almost creates, a synergy between everybody.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So what do you hope to create in the next 12 months? You and your team in Happy Factory.
Well, I'm currently working on corporate retreats. That is my new interest. And there is a training program that I call hashtag I am human, helping people understand what makes them human, helping people understand what their personal values are. Because, when you understand what your personal values are, then you realize that person that's making you really cross every day at work, it's probably because they have a different value system as you. And it doesn't mean that it's bad or they're wrong. It just means that you need to engage with them a little bit differently, or be mindful of how you are doing the engagement. So I'm very big on mind, body, spirit, and that's part and parcel of what it is that, or the journey that Happy Factory is going on. It's bringing mind, body, spirit to the workplace. So it's mind, body, spirit at work. And that's the big thing that I'm focusing on this year.
Marvelous initiative. Being human at work, I think, is primary imperative. I think that that's one of the things that every organization has to take into account. Some of the people, because we're moving into the fourth industrial revolution and everything is moving into the digital space, which was brought on also by the COVID-19 pandemic, where we had to move to the digital spaces. Some expressed fear about how will this digital space affect us. Will we be less human because we will be focusing more on the AI, the VR, and other sciencey stuff. But I guess, as you mentioned, we are different, we are special because we have consciousness. And our goal is to continue humanizing the workplace. Yeah, digital tools are just tools, but eventually this is to serve us humans, not the other way around. Okay.
100%.
So, yes. And before we're down to last two questions before we close this conversation. So how is Happy Factory helping us create a more diverse, inclusive, and equitable world for everyone? So this is one question that we always ask our guests on this show.
Well, Happy Factory is starting within and engaging. I've started. I'm always on journeys, and I've started a lot of different kinds of contemplations about my role in the world, my purpose to myself, and what makes me me. The intricacies of it. And so when I engage with people, it comes from a point of storytelling. And so there's been a lot of power talks that I've been doing for people, and training when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So Happy Factory has taken on the change, because I believe that you've got to be the change that you want to see in the world. It is the reason why I left corporate. It is the reason why I started Happy Factory, and now it is the reason why I am bringing mind, body, spirit to the workplace. I believe that it is the right time for people to start engaging with spirituality and to understand all of the different aspects of it. And spirituality is it's not religion. It is not a thing that you have to do after work, because I find that a lot in the workplace, is that we think, oh, if I want to be mindful, I must do that outside, but now I need to focus on what it is that I'm doing in the workplace. And I think that from that perspective, I'm extremely proud to say that Happy Factory is actually bringing that to the workplace.
Mm-hmm. And I'm proud for you, because it's not every day that a person can marry their ministry, their spirituality with their work, right? That's also I'm trying to work on for myself, because it's difficult to compartmentalize myself. Like, okay, I'll put my spirituality outside work, but it doesn't work that way. So I'm still in that juncture in my life where I'm trying to marry both. And then also, how can our viewers follow you on social media? How can they get to know more about the work that you do on Happy Factory?
Well, they can reach me on LinkedIn, or follow me on LinkedIn. There's always posts coming up on contemplations, or on Instagram if you prefer pictures and scrolling. And then there's also the website. So if they want to see more about what it is that we have at Happy Factory, what it is that we do, you're most welcome to get us on www.happyfactory.us.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Melissa. Thank you so much for taking the time, the generosity of your background. I know it's very early in Johannesburg right now, but you still made time for us, for our viewers. Thank you so much for that.
It's been a pleasure being here, and I've gotten so much of value from this conversation as well. So thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. Dear viewers, if you love today's session, we encourage you to invite your friends, colleagues, family members to be with us next Thursday, May 26th. It's our anniversary special. And same time, same digital channel, the new channel. Thank you so much all for being here. Have a good day, a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world. God bless everyone.